Peppa Pig looks like a simple show about one happy little family, but if you slow down and actually pay attention, you start noticing gaps. Relatives who should exist, but don't. Entire pig families hinted at, then quietly ignored. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Grandpa and Grandma Pig's missing history. Before we go looking for hidden pig families elsewhere, we have to start with the ones we think we already know, because the strangest thing about the pig family isn't who appears. It's how little history they're allowed to have. Grandpa Pig and Grandma Pig are some of the most familiar adults in the entire show. They garden, they tell stories, they babysit Peppa and George, and they talk constantly about the old days. But here's the thing, the old days are always vague. Grandpa Pig will say things like, "When I was a little pig," or "back in my day," yet those memories never include other people.
This isn't just any old case.
It's a record player.
Ooh.
And this was our favorite record.
No parents, no brothers, no sisters. No mention of growing up in a bigger family. It's as if Grandpa Pig simply appeared one day as a fully formed adult, already destined to be Daddy Pig's dad. And the same goes for Grandma Pig. She exists entirely in the present tense of Peppa's world, with no visible roots stretching backward. In a show that loves family, that's oddly restrictive. What makes this even stranger is how often Grandpa Pig talks about the past without ever anchoring it to anyone else. He references old boats, old jobs, old hobbies, but never old relatives. There's no "my father taught me this," or "your great-grandmother used to say." Those kinds of lines are incredibly common in children's shows because they build a sense of generational continuity. Peppa Pig avoids them almost entirely, and that absence starts to feel deliberate. Because if Grandpa Pig mentioned his parents even once, it would raise an obvious question: where are they now? And Peppa Pig really doesn't like opening doors. It doesn't plan to walk through. Grandma Pig follows the same pattern. She's warm, present, and active, but strangely isolated from any larger family context. We never see her reminiscing about siblings, cousins, or childhood friends who might still be around. She and Grandpa Pig exist as a closed loop, like the pig family tree was pruned just before it could get complicated. And the show reinforces this by never introducing great-aunts, great-uncles, or elderly relatives who would logically exist in a family this stable and long-lived. What's especially telling is how normal this absence is treated. No one questions it. Peppa never asks about her great-grandparents. Daddy Pig never talks about his grandparents. The family history simply stops at Grandpa and Grandma Pig, as if that's as far back as the show wants us to look. And that creates a quiet but powerful effect. The pig family feels complete, but only because we're trained not to notice what's missing. So before we even get to hidden cousins or mysterious in-laws, the foundation of the pig family itself is already incomplete. Grandpa and Grandma Pig aren't just grandparents, they're the edge of the map. And everything beyond them has been intentionally left blank. Mummy Pig's family that never appears. If Grandpa and Grandma Pig feel like the edge of the family map, then Mummy Pig's side of the family feels like it was erased before the map was even drawn. Because Mummy Pig didn't just appear out of nowhere, she grew up somewhere. She had parents. She may have had siblings. And yet, in all of Peppa Pig, her family might be the most invisible of all. We see Daddy Pig's parents regularly. We hear about his childhood. We visit his side of the family without much effort. But when it comes to Mummy Pig, the show quietly shuts that door and never opens it again. Think about how often Mummy Pig talks about herself. She mentions her job, her hobbies, her intelligence, and even her childhood memories. But notice what's missing from those memories. There's no "my mum used to do this," or "my dad always said." No stories about growing up with brothers or sisters. No casual reference to family traditions that came from her side. In a show built almost entirely on family interactions, that silence stands out, especially because it isn't accidental. It's consistent. And what makes it more obvious is that the show knows how to introduce grandparents when it wants to. Grandpa Pig and Grandma Pig are recurring characters. They get episodes centered around them. They have personalities, routines, and flaws. So the question becomes uncomfortable. If Mummy Pig's parents exist, why don't they get the same treatment? Why are they never invited over, never mentioned as babysitters, never part of holidays, birthdays, or family trips? Even once would have been enough to establish them. But it never happens. Instead, Mummy Pig exists as if she married into the pig family and left her entire past behind. Not emotionally, not dramatically, just quietly. There's no explanation of distance, no mention of living far away, no hint of conflict or loss. The show doesn't say her parents passed away. It doesn't say they live abroad. It simply pretends they aren't relevant. And that's a strange choice, because children's shows usually love showing both sides of a family. It helps kids relate. It reflects real life. Peppa Pig avoids that symmetry completely. This absence also has a subtle effect on how the family feels. Daddy Pig's side is grounded, familiar, and extended. Mummy Pig's side feels abstract, almost theoretical. We're asked to accept that she has a history without ever being allowed to see it. And the longer the show runs, the more noticeable that becomes. Because every new season is another chance to introduce her parents. And every time, the show chooses not to. So when people talk about hidden families in Peppa Pig, they often look for background characters or one-off relatives. But one of the biggest mysteries is right in front of us. Mummy Pig has a family. The show knows it. And yet, it treats that entire side of Peppa's identity as something better left unseen. Daddy Pig's relatives, who quietly disappeared. Daddy Pig might feel like one of the most fleshed out characters in Peppa Pig, but when you start looking closely at his side of the family, things don't add up. We know his parents. We visit them. We hear stories about his childhood. And yet, for someone with such a well-established past, Daddy Pig's family somehow stops just short of being complete. Because beyond his parents, his relatives appear briefly, and then vanish without explanation. The clearest example is Daddy Pig's sister. Her existence isn't introduced through dialogue or a proper episode. It's revealed accidentally, through background details the show never draws attention to. A photograph, a memory frozen in time. A sibling who clearly mattered at some point, but no longer exists in the present of the show. And what makes that unsettling isn't that she's gone. It's that no one ever acknowledges her absence. Daddy Pig never mentions having a sister. Peppa never asks about an aunt she doesn't see. The family behaves as if that relationship was quietly edited out. But it doesn't stop there. Once you notice this, you start realizing how carefully Daddy Pig's extended family is managed. There are no regular pig cousins on his side. No family gatherings that involve anyone beyond the same small circle. For a family that lives close enough to see grandparents frequently, the lack of uncles, aunts, and cousins becomes harder to ignore, especially when the show has already proven those characters could exist. Daddy Pig often talks about growing up. He mentions school, work, and childhood experiences.
Who's the little piggy in the glasses?
Oh, that's Daddy Pig. Oh, and that's me.
Hello to the future.
But those stories are always framed as solo moments. He doesn't reminisce about playing with siblings, he doesn't reference family chaos or shared memories that usually come with a larger household. His past is oddly quiet, almost minimal, like it's been simplified for the sake of the present. And that's where the pattern becomes clear. Daddy Pig's family isn't missing because the show forgot about them. They're missing because the show chose not to build them. Every relative beyond his parents introduces complexity, questions, follow-ups, relationships that would need continuity. And Peppa Pig consistently avoids that. So instead, Daddy Pig is positioned as the center of his own isolated branch, connected upward to his parents, connected downward to his kids, but sideways connections? Those fade away. What's strange is how normal this all feels while you're watching. The show never draws attention to these gaps. It doesn't frame them as sad or mysterious. They're simply not discussed. And that makes Daddy Pig's family history feel less like a natural family tree and more like a carefully controlled outline. Enough detail to feel real, not enough to get messy. The cousins who appear once, then vanish. One of the easiest ways to spot Peppa Pig quietly hiding parts of its family tree is to look at the cousins, because cousins do exist in this world. The show confirms that. It introduces them, gives them names, personalities, and even entire episodes built around their arrival. And then, once the episode is over, those cousins effectively stop existing. When a cousin appears in Peppa Pig, they're treated as important. They're not background characters. They're not blink-and-you-miss-it cameos. The story usually revolves around them. Peppa is excited. George reacts. The adults explain the family connection. Everything about the episode signals this person matters. But what happens next is the strange part. They're never mentioned again. No follow-up visits, no references in conversation, no casual lines like, "Remember when my cousin came over?" It's as if the relationship resets the moment the credits roll. And this isn't just one cousin, it's a pattern. The show uses cousins as temporary story devices rather than permanent family members. They arrive to teach a lesson, create a small conflict, or introduce something new. And once that job is done, they're quietly removed from the ongoing world of the show. In a series that prides itself on routine and familiarity, that kind of selective memory is unusual. What makes this even more noticeable is how close-knit the Pig family is supposed to be. Grandpa and Grandma Pig visit regularly. Family dinners and sleepovers are common. So the idea that cousins would only ever visit once and then never again doesn't feel natural. It feels managed, as if the show wants the idea of extended family without the responsibility of maintaining it. There's also the way these cousins are never integrated into Peppa's everyday life. They don't attend playgroup. They don't show up at birthday parties. They don't exist in background shots at school events. They're confined to their own episodes, isolated from the wider world of Peppa Pig, which subtly tells the audience something important. These characters aren't meant to expand the family. They're meant to momentarily decorate it. Over time, this creates a strange effect. Peppa Pig acknowledges that a wider family exists, but it refuses to let that family grow naturally. Every cousin is a one-time visitor, never a lasting presence. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If these relationships matter, why are they so easy to forget? And if they don't matter, why introduce them at all? By the time you've seen a few of these appearances, it becomes clear that this isn't coincidence. It's a rule. Cousins are allowed to exist briefly, and then they're quietly folded back into the parts of the Pig family the show doesn't want us to think about for too long. The pattern. Why the Pig family stays small. By the time you step back and look at everything together, the pattern becomes hard to ignore. The Pig family isn't small because there aren't more relatives. It's small because the show actively keeps it that way. Over and over again, Peppa Pig acknowledges that more family members exist. Parents have parents. Adults have siblings. Cousins turn up. Families expand. And then, just as consistently, the show pulls back before things can get complicated. Every time a new relative is introduced, it happens under very controlled conditions.
Dear Peppa and George, here is a present for you to share. Love from your Auntie Dottie.
Auntie Dottie lives far away in another country.
Ooh.
They appear in a single episode. They serve a specific purpose, and once that purpose is fulfilled, they're removed from the ongoing world of the show. No lingering relationships, no evolving dynamics, no long-term consequences. It's as if Peppa Pig is constantly testing the waters of a bigger family, then deciding it prefers things exactly as they are. This isn't how families work in real life, but it is how carefully managed story worlds work. The smaller the family, the easier it is to maintain consistency. Characters don't age unexpectedly. Relationships don't contradict earlier episodes. Writers don't have to remember who's related to whom. And Peppa Pig, more than most shows, thrives on repetition and familiarity. The same routines, the same faces, the same structure, episode after episode. That's why the hidden families feel less like accidents and more like intentional omissions. Mummy Pig's parents don't appear because introducing them would double the number of grandparents. Daddy Pig's siblings don't stay because that would create new family dynamics. Cousins don't return because that would require continuity. So instead, the show leaves clues, photos, one-off appearances, casual mentions, just enough to make the world feel bigger without actually letting it grow. And the clever part is how subtle this all is. Nothing feels broken. Nothing feels wrong. Most viewers never notice because the show never draws attention to what's missing. It keeps moving forward, confident that the audience will accept the family as complete. But once you slow down and really look, the absences start to stack up. At that point, Peppa Pig stops feeling like a simple family show and starts feeling like a carefully edited one. A world where relatives exist only as long as they don't ask follow-up questions, and where the Pig family tree is kept deliberately small, not because that's all there is, but because that's all we're meant to see. So what do you think happened to all these missing pig relatives? Are they just off-screen or intentionally forgotten? Let us know your theory in the comments. And if this surprised you, check out our other Peppa Pig breakdowns. This show gets stranger the closer you look.